Today I'm making pasta, and of course I know pasta isn't German, it's Italian, but you know, Italy isn't that far away from Germany, and a lot of Italians moved to Germany in the 50s and 60s, and they opened a lot of restaurants, and we actually wouldn't want to live without pasta and pizza in Germany anymore. Now let's quickly go through the ingredients. I have 250 grams of flour, and this flour is not your regular all-purpose flour, it is the Tipo 00 flour, and this is a very fine grind flour that is especially for pasta and pizza dough. So I sometimes find it in the grocery, and if I don't, I just order it at Amazon. Yeah, so you definitely need to use this. You will not be able to make a good pasta dough with a regular flour, because that is not fine enough, and this one really creates a lot of gluten, which is needed for the dough. I also have 120 grams of egg yolks and 1 complete egg. I also have a little bit, about 1 tablespoon of milk, some salt and some olive oil. So let's start with the recipe. You cannot really make this with a machine. You have to do it by hand because the dough is very firm, and there are only few machines who are able to work with that kind of dough. So the way you have to do it is to put your flour on the surface, and in the center you make some space like this here, and you should really make enough space to fit all the egg yolks in here, otherwise you get a mess because this is all flowing over. So I start by doing this, putting this in the middle, also the egg, and the egg white will help the dough to stay together. And I also add some salt. I have some kosher salt here, just a little bit, some milk, and some oil, like about a tablespoon. Okay, so this looks good. And I'll take some of the flour and put it aside, because I don't know how much water is in this flour, and with our humidity, it's very humid today here in Texas, or in Houston at least. It might be necessary to add this flour later, but maybe not. So usually I use my hand to scramble all this, but since I have to use the cameras and press some buttons, I want to try to keep my hands a little bit clean. So that's why I'm using a fork, but you can also do it with your hands, and kids actually love it. Most kids, not all. My son wouldn't like it. He hates everything that's messy on his fingers, so it wouldn't be for him. So now I start to incorporate some of the flour from the sides and mix this into my egg and oil mix here. And I keep doing this. And you can see it's already a little less liquid than it was before. So I'm putting more of the flour in here. You can see it's not that runny anymore, not as much as it was in the beginning. Okay, let's add more flour. Alright, and I think I can already start to mix all the flour into it. So let's just put it to the middle. Just like that. And you see it's becoming a little crumbly. Put a little more of the flour aside just to make sure. It's easier to add more flour to a dough that is too wet than to add some fluid to a dough that is too dry. So that's why I'm trying to stay here on the safe side. Okay. Yeah, so I need more flour. And that's how the people in Italy make it. So the families, they make this dough probably for a couple of days and then use it during the week, so they don't have to do it every day. Although I think most of them, at least the elderly, they eat pasta every day. Kind of one of the courses that they have. So I think it's the entry. No, what's it called? The pre-course, how do you call it in English? I don't know. The appetizer. All right, still adding flour. And you can see this is a very, very firm dough. It's nothing that your stand mixer can handle. It's not like a bread dough or something, it's more like a chewing gum. All right. Let's see. Still needs a little more flour, I think. Yeah. This is like a workout. So I think I still want to add a little more flour, not much, just a bit. Yeah, I want it to be a little more dense, more firm than this in the moment. Okay, so I pull this a little bit on my surface to create a round shape, and yeah. So now this dough has to rest in the fridge for 4 to 5 hours, and I have to wrap it very firmly so no air is getting to the dough, otherwise it would dry out. Also, if it's, for example, in the fridge overnight, it can happen that the color is changing a little bit. It might become a little bit grayish. That's because of the egg yolks. That's not it's not that the dough is bad and you have to throw it away. It's just like oxidation, and you can still use it. It just doesn't look as nice as it was. So now I have to wrap my dough, and then I put it into the fridge for 4 to 5 hours, and then I can use it for my pasta. Here's now my dough, and it has rested 5 hours. I'll give it a quick round here on my wooden board. Put a little bit of flour on it, and then I cut some of the dough off, and the rest I will put right back into my wrap because I don't want it to dry out. All right, so I take this little bit of my dough and I flatten it a little bit. So this is my pasta machine, and there are some that you use with your hand and you have to use your muscle to get the dough through it. This is as good as the one that I have here. I just, since I already have the machine and I didn't want to have too much space for another machine, I just bought the attachment. And what is very important is that you start with the widest setting and you put this dough through this widest setting several times to give it another kind of knead. So, just like that. And I fold it and give it a second round in here. Fold it again. I did this one several times. This looks actually good. I'll just fold this end one more time. I try to get a sort of rectangle here. Okay, so now I go on a smaller setting and I let it run through at least 2 times, and then I again go to a smaller setting. Just like that. And one more. Okay. That was too early. One get your dough falling apart. This is about the width that I want. I get a little bit of flour, and now I have to cut it. So I will cut it in about this wide. What's that, half an inch? A little less, I think. I would say it's a centimeter, but that probably doesn't tell most Americans anything about the width. Okay, let's start with this. So what I want is to have them all in line, so I can cut them the same length, which is, so I'm basically deciding now how wide I want my pasta to be, and I will go for this. Okay, so let's stick to that for the moment. Okay, so now I have this little board, and this board I got it at Amazon. It costs just a few bucks, and it has this kind of riffles here, and it comes with a dowel. I will show you in a little bit what to do with that. Right now I don't need it. Instead, I take one of my dough pieces and I take a regular butter knife, and I use the back of this knife like this and put it on top of my dough, and then I press it down slightly, and there we have the first little pasta piece. And as you can imagine, this is gonna be fun, but it will also take a while to finish this project. So here's the next one, and that's something that I sometimes do with my daughter. We both make our pasta, which is very relaxing and very nice, and we have great conversations during that. Yeah, and these little pasta pieces here, they need to dry, and it's better if they dry fast, because otherwise they might turn a little bit grayish, especially here in Texas with the high humidity in Houston. The drying process sometimes takes a little longer. That's why I usually put them on a baking rack so they dry from all sides at least, otherwise I would have to turn them after a while. And you could also use them right away, since the dough is fresh. You could do that, but the downside is, you know, I don't do them all at once. It takes a while to finish this project and to have enough pasta for 4 persons. So some of them might be already a little bit dry before I put them into the cooking water. So they will have different timings to be ready. So just to have more control over how long to cook them, I let them all dry and then use them as dry pasta, and it's as good as if you would use them very fresh. There's no downside to it, and I recommend doing it like that. Yeah, I hope you like this video, and I hope you try this yourself maybe. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and maybe follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, follow me on my video channel. Yeah, and thank you for watching.